Hello everyone, my name is Josh and welcome to Whimsical and Interesting Musings, or WHIMs as I like to call it. And today I have a book review for you on The Confusion of Karen Carpenter by Jonathan Harvey. Now, if the name Jonathan Harvey sounds familiar to you, it's because he is a very famous British playwright and TV writer and TV creator, and he's also written a couple of screenplays for film. And he basically wrote the plays like Beautiful Thing, which was also adapted into a film for Channel 4, and he was also responsible for the shows Gimme, 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 The Catherine Tate Show, and he's even written a few episodes for Coronation. He's even a head writer for Coronation Street, so he has quite an interesting, back catalogue of all sorts of things for television. So this is in fact his second novel. He's written a couple of other good ones afterwards, but this is his second novel, and it follows a woman by the name of Karen Carpenter, who, despite having the same name as a 70s pop star, she couldn't be any different from the actual 70s star. She can't sing, she can't play drums, and she has quite a very difficult and confusing life. When she, just before Christmas, her boyfriend of a long time, in fact it was her childhood sweetheart, Michael, leaves her, and he doesn't really have any real explanation for it, other than he leaves her a note when she gets home from work one day, next to the kettle, and it reads as follows. So I'm just going to find the page 7. It reads, "Dear Karen, I'm sorry, but I can't do this anymore. You know I've been unhappy for a while. I think the only way I'm going to be happy is if I go. I'm sorry I'm such a coward. I can't tell you to your face. Don't come looking for me, and don't worry about me. I'll be fine. And you deserve better anyway, Michael." So when that note is actually read aloud, she immediately starts to unravel into a spiral. She suddenly gets very depressed, and she decides to go back to work, which is at a comprehensive school called Fountain Woods Comprehensive, to basically get her head back into, her professional life. She works with disabled children to assist them in their work and things like that. So she gets back into her role very quickly and tries to move on from Michael, but she finds herself still in this slump. And a quick bit of background into how I came about getting this book. I'm a member of an LGBTQ book club, and for the most part, the whole entire objective of that book club is to receive books or recommend books that either have LGBTQ characters or LGBTQ themes, like, having difficulty with your identity, struggling with your identity, your sexual orientation, your coming out, as it were. Or you have books where they're written by gay, lesbian, bisexual authors, but they tackle events in history. They might tackle world history, they might tackle ancient history, they might tackle all different kinds of topics and all sorts of different genres, but LGBTQ characters aren't the focus of the story. So that's basically the gist. And Jonathan Harvey is an LGBTQ writer, and of course this is a book mostly focused on a mostly heterosexual main character, and there's only one LGBTQ character, who is Meredith, and she is a lesbian PE teacher who actually has a bit of a crush on the main character. So this book is absolutely brilliant. This book is hilarious. It's a great comedy. It's also a great dark comedy, because there's one instance in the book where Karen basically has a friend of hers who works at reception. She comes up to her and says, "Oh, I feel very worn out. It's Christmas break. It's just come after Christmas break, and I'm just very worn out. I'm just very down in the dumps and all these other things." And Karen goes, "Oh no, I'm sorry to hear about your relationship with your husband and him leaving you." And he goes, "What about my husband? What about him leaving me? No one told me that." And she goes, "Oh." And she tells her that he went down to Hastings to spend time with this other woman. And then we find out a few hours later that she went down to Hastings, this receptionist woman, and actually threatened to murder her husband's new girlfriend. And it's actually really hilarious, but it's also really kind of dark as well. So stuff like that really did make me laugh in this book. But yeah, this book is essentially about her trying to pick up the pieces after her boyfriend leaves her. And this book is really funny. It's got great characters, especially the main character of Karen Carpenter. She has these hilarious anecdotes and these hilarious encounters with people. But her mum's also hilarious. Valerie Carpenter is absolutely a nightmare in terms of the sort of person that you would want to live with. But again, she's Karen's mum, so she has this kind of right to almost, boss her around and all these other things. And yeah, she's a nice person. She has good intentions, but she kind of comes across as being overly mean or overly critical to her daughter. And you do kind of feel sorry for Karen, but then you also feel sorry for Valerie as well, because there's a lot of reasons why she's moved in with Karen at the start of the book, why she's suddenly moved in and she's decided to cook and clean for Karen and, set up her own schedule around Karen's schedule and things like that. So you really do get a lot of depth with this particular character as well. You get a lot of depth with a lot of the characters, surprisingly enough, and there are a lot of great moments that really kind of shine light into why these people are the way they are and why they think the way they think and all these other things. And this book was an absolute ride. It was an incredible book. It was funny. It was heartfelt in the right places, but then it was also really tragic and really upsetting in a lot of places. So I will recommend, if you do pick this book up, or if you do decide to give this book a read, have a box of tissues at the ready, because it does get a bit emotional. And this book was just such a good time. Jonathan Harvey is such a great writer anyway. His work on TV pretty much shows right off the bat that he's absolutely, a master in terms of creating these great characters, having these wonderful set pieces, these wonderful encounters with people. But he manages to make these characters feel very real, despite the fact that on the surface they feel very cartoony or very sitcom-esque. But then when you get deeper into the flesh of these characters, you realise that, they actually have a little bit more to them. They have thoughts, feelings, aspirations, secrets of their own that they're not willing to divulge to the main character. And this is a mild spoiler for the rest of the book if you do want to pick the book up, but Michael does come back, and if you remember what was written in that note that he left, he says, "Don't come looking for me and don't worry about me, I'll be fine." Okay, Michael, well, if you are fine, why are you back? And that's one of the things that really is at the heart of what makes this book so interesting, is why did he feel the need to leave her in the first place? And that's one of the immediate hooks of why this particular book is so good and why it was such a great, breath of fresh air for me after reading a lot of thrillers. And I just feel like, I was very happy with this book. I absolutely had a good time. It was very funny. And I actually really enjoyed it. It's a fantastic book. It's funny. It's got great characters. The writing style is very straightforward, so anybody can read it and take a lot from it. And I think it's just a very fantastic book. I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5 star recommendation. This book is really funny. It's got a lot of great dramatic moments as well and a lot of very heartfelt moments. But this book is fantastic. I absolutely loved everything about it. It was just such a good time for sure. And if you are interested in this book by Jonathan Harvey, it's called The Confusion of Karen Carpenter. And it's a fantastic read. And that's all I'm going to say for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And let me know in the comments, have you seen any of Jonathan Harvey's works, like Gimme, 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 or anything from... or any of his work on Coronation Street, or any of his other shows? Let me know what his other shows are in the comments, if you can. And let me know, have you read any of his other books? Like that, he's written tons of other books since this as well, and before this. And I'd like to hear your thoughts. Like, what do you think of this book? And if you have read this book, what did you think of the overall experience? What were your thoughts in the overall novel? And that's all for today. And I've been Josh with Whimsical and Interesting Musings. So take care. I hope you're all doing very well. Take care, and bye-bye for now.